here.
All right, we're going to welcome you back to Principals Podcast. Believe it or not, this is season 4. This is episode 17, and we are looking at spring, and it is the spring musical. Those of you who have gone to our musicals over the last several decades realize that this showcases unbelievable talent, unbelievable vocals, unbelievable acting, all inside of that tiny little space called Park Auditorium that generations of Hilltoppers have performed in. Joining us with my co-host as Mary Pat Pavasek. How are you today?
I'm doing great.
You and I have had a very, 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 very busy week already with lots of things happening. But this is always nice to take a moment to pause. In one corner, we have two groups here representing the musical. So let's start with Colin. How are things going with you?
Things are going really well.
Colin, who are you performing as in this Addams family?
So in the show, I'm playing Gomez. He's the father, only one with a more like Spanish accent, and he's a very eccentric character. It's like
So let me ask you this. Weren't you like Lumiere last year?
Yep, that's right.
Are you able to pull out some of the Beauty and the Beast voice?
You might be able to hear in like little like bits and pieces. Sometimes you'll be like, oh, that sounds kind of like what he did here, and like that kind of stuff.
And from what I understand, there might have been a malfunction at the stage last week with your foot and your head. Are you okay?
I forgot about that.
I am perfectly okay. Yes.
That's very good. So, TJ, who is my stoic Desipeda, she certainly loves to make fun of me on a daily. She is obviously very actively involved in school. So, TJ, you are in this production. You kind of have a silent assassin because you also are in the a cappella group. What role are you playing in the Addams family?
I'm playing Morticia Addams. She's like the mom of the family. She's I don't know how to explain it. She's very passionate about being angry.
So did you get really close with Colin throughout the course of the last several months? Because you kind of have to be like
We hate each other.
partners.
I don't like her at all.
I don't
Actually,
You don't like her at all. But you two, I'm sure that you're going to be putting on a great performance, and it's probably going to
Just
be
acting.
it's all acting. None of it's actually.
it's all acting, like we always say. Megan, you the master of the puppets here?
Kind of, yeah. I get to help these people figure out what they're doing and make sure everybody is on track.
And this is how many rounds for you in this role or roles like this?
I think this is either 4 or 5 because of just doing this. Because I don't go on stage. I just help with behind the scenes.
Yeah, and that's extremely important.
Mm-hmm.
Charlotte, you've been making the news, the headlines a lot lately for things extraordinary. Obviously, we want to first recognize you as being the first and only ever state champion for speech and debate in the history of Chardon High School. So congratulations there.
Thank you.
And you were on a podcast a few weeks ago talking about that. So what role do you play in the musical?
I play the grandmama. She's the weird grandmother. She's really funky, but I kind of love her.
Do you have to have a certain arch or stance in this position as the grandmama?
It's a lot of crouching. She's just weird. She exists. But she's good. She takes up space. She drives.
Cole, you're in a way back there.
Yes, I
And
am.
you are certainly in the fall play. You had a lot to say.
Yeah, just a little.
A lot to say. So what do you get to say this time around?
Not nearly as much, but I do play Fester in the show, and Fester, he's kind of like not like he's kind of like comic relief. He kind of like brings everything together. He's also like the main like narrator in the show.
He's also bald, which is nice.
Yeah.
He's
Why
like
didn't you
you,
cast
so
me?
you understand.
You should have cast me. I wouldn't have to do anything besides act. My buddy David, who I lovingly call Fluffy with his hair. What role are you playing in the musical?
I play Mal Beinecke.
Who is Mel Beinecke?
So I have this conversation about like 6 times a day. Wednesday has a boyfriend, and her boyfriend's name is Lucas, and I am Lucas's father.
Oh, okay. So, how many of you watched the Netflix series Wednesday?
Oh my
Did
god,
you all?
I binged it.
I did.
No. So I didn't know if you got some inspiration for some of the things that you're doing by watching. There's so many different Addams families. You have the original that came out so many years ago when it was probably my parents' time and grandparents' time. And then throughout the course of time, there's been multiple full feature films of the Addams family. And then there's been spin-offs, and then there's Wednesday, which is, very popular. Have you reviewed like some of those original films, or are you actually watching or seeing some of the actual musical performances of this play?
So our show takes a couple of the features from like the old films. There's a couple of references to the old shows, which is really, really nice for at least me, because I watched the shows and seeing it being acted is really cool. And I think we're kind of taking inspiration from other things that they've done too. I don't know.
I feel like for the Beineckes, since they're not like big like the Addams, but so like they're really only in like the musical and the Broadway versions. I feel like the Beineckes, we make Mal, Alice, and Lucas, we make them all their own like people.
That's cool. Can you tell us a little bit about like the lighting that we're going to see? Is it going to be a little traditional black and white lighting? Are we going to see colors? What's the lighting going to be like for this production?
There's like, there's so I've seen some blue. There's definitely some blue in there. But actually one of the big things about this year, I don't want to give too much information about it because I would want people to come see it for themselves. But we have this kind of like projector system up, and it's gonna have some backgrounds and some other really cool effects for the show. So you just gotta see it.
So that's a great transition. Let's talk about the work behind the scenes, because there are so many hands that make this happen between the various crews, including makeup, and costume to the set design. What should we expect when we go in there to see a set? Is it going to be like a typical Scott Brown, Mrs. Brown production where you can like mold it into 100 different things, or is it going to be typically one type of set?
I will say I'm still partially involved with like stage crew for this show, but I will say we were told not to build a set specifically. But there's lots of like furniture pieces that we had to put them on wheels so that they can roll on and off the stage. But you'll definitely be able to see the things like stage crew has done, but it's not necessarily like a permanent set the entire show.
It's interesting. I feel it's very experimental with the projections. It's something really new that we haven't done at Chardon before. And so experimenting with a different medium like that is very, very interesting, I think.
I feel like you have to use your imagination like a lot throughout the show, because like there's no set to tell you like where you are.
Yeah.
So you just kind of have to like think about it.
And it's very much, it's a fantasy story.
Yeah, it's fun.
There's so many different scenes all in one entire like thing. Like sometimes there's like you're in two different places in one scene, so it's kind of like
yeah,
it's very broad and it's very like.
Is there anything, and I'm going to transition here to let Ms. Pavasek speak here in a moment, but is there any sort of like choreography that is like you've had to really, really rehearse because of something that you have to do in unison?
Oh God.
No.
That's a question.
No.
So the
There
answer,
are definitely a couple of numbers that we've had to go over a couple times.
Tango.
And we've had to re-choreograph some stuff due to spacing issues because we practice in the choir room.
God bless you.
And choir room is not the same size as our stage, so we've had to. One of our biggest challenges is figuring out spacing for that, making sure we're not ruining anything at Park. Yeah.
So
So the answer is no.
No, we're
gotcha. Ms. Pavasek has absolutely enjoyed seeing all the different student activities this year, whether it's going to new sports that she hasn't seen in a long time, to all the different musicals, or sorry, fall play, to the choirs, to the bands. Ms. Pavasek, when's the last time you've been to a spring musical?
Oh my gosh, with COVID, I feel like with so many cancellations, it's been a while. But with that said, for you guys, I've been able to go to your fall play, your choir performances, and I'm amazed by how talented you are. But what really amazes me about you guys is how brave you are. So the question I have for you, how do you overcome stage fright? How?
I'll answer this. For me, I just kind of got used to the fact that, like, since I've like performed, like in elementary school, like, singing with like, music class, and like, being in choir, and also having previous acting experience, you don't really realize how many people are out there when you're being blinded by stage lights the entire time. So it's kind of like, when you're being blinded, you don't really see anything but like the front row. And it's like, okay, that's not that many people. And then you realize later, oh, that's a lot of people. But you kind of just, I don't know, I kind of just do it.
I feel like you're really scared before you get on stage, but once you get on stage and start talking, you're fine. Like it just feels like all those nerves just go away.
I just like making a fool of myself.
Colin.
It's a natural board. Like I just like making. I like putting myself in very uncomfortable situations. I don't know. That's just me.
when I watch them on stage, when I see them first step on stage, I see them as the teenagers that there. So I see like Colin as Colin, and then as soon as the light starts or the music starts, I see him completely transform. So he's not Colin anymore. He's Gomez.
Imposter.
I don't know. I don't really get stage fright. Sorry.
It's different.
I've done so much speech and debate. I've performed to giant audiences a million times. It doesn't get to me anymore. It just happens. And I don't know. That's all experience, but I feel like, I mean, I'm grateful to be in that position, but it's not one of the things that scares me anymore.
A lot of it too, like, even if you are like nervous on stage after doing something, as soon as you go like off stage, there's a whole like crew of people just hyping you up.
Yeah.
So it helps being surrounded by fun people.
Yeah, we're like a huge family.
Mm-hmm. Truly.
Hell, wow, amazing. And with that, the life skills that you guys are gaining through all of this, and obviously the experience that you've gained prior to doing this has prepared you, will prepare you to do whatever you want to do. And like Colin said, being a fool, being who you are, is so important in this world. So keep doing what you guys are doing. Obviously, you're doing good for yourself, but you're doing really good for a lot of people, because we love watching you perform, and you don't know how many people you reach by performing the way that you do, whether it's through choirs or the musicals, music and the arts, or everything. So thank you for your commitment to doing this. I'm so super, super excited to see you. My plan is to go to your dress rehearsal, so I'll be cheering on you guys Wednesday of next week.
And that I do recommend getting there early and going up the stairs a little bit before they're doing their final prep, because they do this traditional kind of together family, we got this motivation. There's a couple stomps. It's like, gosh, 40 years worth of Chardon actors that do that, and it's really powerful. Mr. Strife is extraordinary. We already know that.
Yes, yes.
Along with all of the other directors that are there. He absolutely lives and breathes everything for you all, including those that graduate, because he has gone to multiple performances for our graduates. Olivia Nelson, you have Kirsten Henry, along with Ethan Peterson, that have been in productions more recently. There's a lot of history, and there's a lot of alum, and there's a lot of family that's involved in this. And it's pretty cool to see all that occur. Is there anything that you want to leave the listeners regarding the Addams family? Because this is happening next week, that you are trying to kind of lead them to the water, but don't let them drink, regarding the Addams family.
It's
Kind of a final plug.
Yeah, it's a Chardon show. All of our shows are amazing. During the musicals, we almost always sell out tickets, so you can't buy them at the door, so buy them online.
That's good. Let's get to the time of the podcast where we give some shout outs. People you want to shout out this week.
Okay, I'll start. I guess my shout outs are all, so first things first, I'm going to go ahead and give a really big shout out to all the crews and the cast especially that are involved with the show. Everyone has amazing talents, and even the ensemble, they all have amazing talents, and they're also what helps put the show together. Mr. Strife, as mentioned before, Mr. O'Keefe, he's been a huge part of the show too. Lisa Marie, our choreographer. We've also had we just had everybody, Mr. Brown, Hayden, the M&C girls, props, all of them. They're all incredibly amazing. I also want to give a shout out to my family, my really close friends. I want to give shout outs to, I can't think of who else I want to give shout outs to. Just shout outs to everybody, I guess.
Oh, sorry. I don't know. I'm so thankful for everyone in cast and crew. I know we've had some rough spots in production, but it's anytime we have a really hard day at rehearsal, it's everyone just keeps going and tries even harder the next day. And so I'm really, really grateful for a group of people that are so dedicated to making this really, really special. All the crews, like Cole listed, and our pit just showed up this week. And so we have live music that is also students, and it's very nice. And so, yeah.
I would like to give shout outs to my mom and my sister, and for just being there for me this whole time. When I have a bad rehearsal, I come home, my mom and my sister always support me. And all the crews, they have been amazing. They do so much for us, and everyone in cast. And also my partner in crime, Abby Roboleski. I'm Mal, she's Alice, and we're married in the show. And she has a beautiful voice, and she's just amazing. So come see the show. Shout outs to everyone.
Let's see. So I just want to give a shout out to it's everybody involved, cast, crew, directors, to Mr. Strife, Lisa Marie, and Schaefer for all being able to work and cooperate with me doing stuff like the musical and still running at the same time. I want to shout out to my parents for always being supportive, my siblings for always being supportive, sometimes annoying, but still supportive. And of course, also I want to shout out anyone who's been involved with theater in the past as well, and hoping they'll come see it. Jack Myers, definitely looking forward to seeing him again if he comes see it. So.
Yeah, I would agree that it's important to shout out all the graduated people that are the reason that we're still in drama. pretty much. But yeah, I would give like a huge shout out to like my family. It's just my mom and dad at home, but I've had my fair share of like FaceTime calls to talk about like what's happening with my siblings and for this show. Most of them are coming to see it actually, so that's nice. And obviously like the cast that I've gotten to work with, like I've made so many like good friends, and stage crew people are super cool, and Mr. Strife and Mr. Brown and Lisa Marie and all those important people.
I would like to give a shout out to my sister for like always supporting me through this and sitting in the car and listening to me like talk about all the stuff that's going on. Shout out to all of our crews who work so hard, who get there super early, get there on weekends to work and make sure our show is really awesome. Shout out to our cast for working so hard to memorize all of their lines and the choreography and everything. I've seen how hard they work, and it's really cool to see. Also, shout out to my parents for letting me do this because I love it.
This is great. It's like you just are rehearsing your speech for the Oscars that you're going to win someday. Ms. Pavasek, we've been through a lot this week. Anyone you want to shout out?
Yeah, well, a lot. I just want to shout out you guys for obviously you're amazing with everything you're doing, but your gratitude. I think it's so wonderful when you recognize all the good people in your life that do the things that help you, grow and do all the amazing things that you're able to do. So I think it's wonderful. So just want to give you a shout out for your shout outs and all of your work with the performance. I also want to shout out Mr. Shrive too, because I just know he is so committed to you guys. He is your biggest advocate, and he works really hard to help you guys do your best. So I want to make sure to give a shout out to him. And Mr. O'Keefe has obviously been above and beyond student teacher, providing all the additional support and building those relationships with you guys. So I want to give him a shout out as well. And also Mrs. Patterson. So I don't know how much involvement you guys know that she has, but she does a lot with the stage crew, and she's so committed to it as well. And she works really hard. So I want to be sure to make sure to give her a shout out for all of her hard work.
I got to give a shout out to obviously all those who were mentioned, but this was a very busy week. And so our staff helped out in so many ways on Tuesday with all the various testing that was going on, field trips are going on, and our students for obviously the ACT, the ASVAB, the Lake Erie trip, the Auburn. There was a lot of moving parts and it was successful. So I want to give a shout out to the people that make my job so much easier. And that would be all the students that literally comply and follow what we ask of them, and certainly the all hands on deck staff. So we are promoting you. We will be present. We are going to take photos. We are going to tweet this out. We're going to get people to the water to watch you do the Addams Family. We're really excited. Can't wait to see you guys. Thanks for joining the podcast today. And as always, go Toppers.
Have a good day, guys.
Toppers.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.